So sodium not only is required to get the glucose into the blood, it's also required to get the water into the cell. So it's sodium. It's the third most vital element needed for life. And you can get that information on the 4 vitals in any anatomy and physiology book, chemistry book, biology book. I'm just giving you the facts here. So as you can see, water is very important. But so is the salt. And again, the potassium is found in all your fresh fruits and vegetables. Calcium cannot get into the cell by itself. It needs vitamin D. When vitamin D is present, the calcium is pulled inside the cell. And remember, I showed you the other day that calcium's called the king because when it gets into the cell, all the other minerals piggyback on the back of calcium. Something else happens. I'd like to go back to this for a moment. When the magnesium's put on the tongue and you have the glass of water, or half a glass, a little bit later the other half glass, that magnesium pulls the water inside the cell. And in the bilaid membrane that is around every cell, there's a little motor. And when the water's pulled through the membrane and into the cell, it causes that little motor to start spinning. And the spinning of that motor gives us a unit of energy. So when you're feeling a little tired or maybe a little bit peckish mid-morning, have the salt and have the water and you'll get a little bit of a pickup. So when everyone's going outside to have their cigarette or their cup of coffee, you have your crystal of salt, your glass of water. Absolutely, if you're working in an office, go outside and find a tree. Remember what the trees are giving off? Life-giving oxygen. Breathe deeply from your abdominal muscle and that blast of oxygen. Remember what the oxygen does at the cellular level? Oxygen will give you 18 times more energy. We've looked at the inside of the workings of the cell a few times, and the way I explain it, it looks like there's one energy cycle per cell, but it is not true. So what I've drawn for you here is a whole lot of little energy cycles. In fact, in the muscle cell, you can have 100 energy cycles to a muscle cell. I can hardly get my mind around that.
What you're about to learn about timing will save you from years of unexplained fatigue and mysterious health problems. She's describing cellular energy production that happens when water passes through your cell membranes. This isn't just hydration. It's literally how your cells generate energy at the molecular level. Most people are drinking water randomly throughout the day, never understanding that there is an optimal timing that maximizes cellular function and energy production. When you coordinate salt, water, and timing correctly, you're not just hydrating, you're activating your body's natural energy generation system.
And that's why the saying that you will receive more energy than you expend on your morning walk, because each one of those little energy cycles will give 18 times more energy if enough oxygen is going into your body. Glucose, it can't get into the cell by itself. It has to have insulin. Insulin's the key that unlocks the door to let the glucose into the cell. And what happens with many people, before diabetes develops, insulin resistance develops. You've heard of insulin resistant? And when insulin resistance develops, the cell's resisting insulin, so the glucose can't get into the cell, so the glucose stays in the blood, and the brain says to the pancreas, more insulin, but the problem's not more insulin, the problem is there's insulin resistance at the cellular level. So what causes the insulin resistance? It's the high carbohydrate, high sugar diet. It's just the cell gets to the point where it says, we've got enough, sick of the sight of you. So how to recover from insulin resistance is to get the glucose, those carbohydrates, right down. Get the fiber up, the good proteins and the healthy fats. That's the best way to recover from insulin resistance. But you just imagine for a moment, and this is happening in America a lot today, People are not drinking enough water. They're not having the whole salt, and they're definitely not having many greens, which is where your magnesiums is. So the little bit of water they're having is not getting inside the cell. They don't go out in the sunshine because they're scared of getting skin cancer. So they're not getting their vitamin D, so the calcium can't get in and the minerals can't get in. And they're trying to lose weight, so they've listened to a lot of the media hype that you've got to stop the fat because fat will make you fat. So they're on a high carbohydrate diet. Remember what fat will do? It'll give you satisfaction or a satiation, a full feeling. But if you're not having any fat, you just eat and eat and eat and eat and eat and eat. The whole packet of cookies goes, the whole chips go. There's not a sign in your body that says enough. It's the fibre, protein and the good fats that will give you that sign.
This cascade she's describing is the perfect storm, destroying our health, and it's completely preventable. People avoid salt, so water can't get into cells. They avoid sun, so calcium can't absorb. They avoid fat, so they never feel satisfied and overeat carbohydrates. Meanwhile, their cells are starving for water, minerals, and nutrients. All this while their blood sugar spikes from constant carbohydrate consumption. The body's final emergency response is to force nutrients into cells through high blood pressure, which they then medicate instead of addressing the underlying deficiencies.
So they're on a high carbohydrate diet, thinking that if they go fat-free, they'll lose weight. And can you see what's happening? The water can't get in, the minerals can't get in, the glucose can't get in, and the body says, what are we going to do? Because remember, this is the CBD of the human body. What are we going to do? And the body says, we've got one last thing up our sleeve. We'll just force it into the cell. That's high blood pressure. So high blood pressure can be a result of dehydration. It can be a result of mineral deficiency, magnesium deficiency. It can be a result of vitamin D deficiency. It can be a result of a high carbohydrate, high sugar diet. It can be a result of inactivity. So there's a whole lot of things that can come together to contribute to high blood pressure. That's why the detective hat has to be put on to find out why these things are so. And in some cases it'll be a bit of this one, in some cases a bit of that one, in some cases other things. And you saw from the first lecture, it seems a long time ago, doesn't it? Back to Monday. We looked at how genetics loads the gun, but it is lifestyle that pulls the trigger. So the cell, and understanding the workings of the cell, is paramount to understanding how these things affect the body. We have a book in our library, and I know we have it in the library here. It's by an Iranian doctor called Dr. Batman Geheldij. I think that's how you pronounce it. It's called One of the Body's Many Cries for Water. The second title to his book is He's Not Sick, He's Thirsty. The third title to his book is Don't Treat Thirst with Medications. His story is fascinating. I think it was in about the 70s or 80s. He was a political prisoner. And because he was a doctor, everyone came to him when they had problems. And all he had was water. So no matter what the problem was, he'd get them to drink a glass of water. He'd come and see them 15 minutes, he'd give them another glass of water. So usually in half an hour, they had 3 glasses of water. And he was just shocked at how the headaches are gone, the migraines have eased, the stomach ulcer pain had relieved, the asthma attack relieved. He only gave them water because he had nothing else. He just wanted to make, I guess, a show that he was doing something, and because he was doctor, they just drank their water.
Here is where modern medicine reveals its fundamental misunderstanding of human biology. High blood pressure isn't a disease. It's your body's intelligent emergency response to multiple nutritional deficiencies happening simultaneously. Dehydration, mineral deficiency, vitamin D deficiency, and insulin resistance don't happen in isolation. They cascade together, and the body raises blood pressure as a survival mechanism. Instead of asking why the body is responding this way, medicine just suppresses this response with drugs while the underlying problems get worse.
So he began to document what he was finding because it surprised him. He did not realize, he did not expect the water to have that much of an effect. I can't remember the period of time, but eventually the government changed and he was freed, and he said, look, do you mind if I stay a bit longer? I'm in the middle of this fascinating research. And he has presented his findings at medical conferences. He's presented his findings in medical journals, but it's not a very popular subject because you can't make much money out of water. Now you'll understand why the second title of his book is He's Not Sick, He's Thirsty, and Don't Treat Thirst with Medications. It was a fascinating book for me to read, and I'd like to take you inside.
The detective work required here exposes why conventional medicine fails so consistently. They look for single causes and single solutions, but your body is an interconnected system where everything affects everything else. That's why lifestyle changes work, where medications fail. You're addressing the root causes instead of just suppressing symptoms. Genetics load the gun, but lifestyle pulls the trigger. Generation after generation, we accept disease as normal, but it was never meant to be normal.